Hi, and welcome to Come Play with Meeples. My name is Joe, and today we are playing Act 3 of The Gathering. Last time we left off, Rex and Agnes had just broken the barrier in order to be able to get into the parlor. Why was this barrier in place, and what are they going to find inside? I'm excited to find out, so let's get started. Breaking the barrier. Using the barrel from the attic, you carry ice and snow from the cellar and hurl it at the barrier. The barrier sparks and shudders as it consumes the ice, then hisses and fades out of existence. The barrier blocking passage into the parlor has vanished. Reveal the parlor. So that means we would reveal the parlor, exactly like it says. Put the set-aside Lita Chandler into play in the parlor. So I do have a couple more cards that I was told to set aside at the beginning, and here we have Lita Chandler. So she was in the parlor. Spawn the set-aside Ghoul Priest in the hallway. So another final card is this Ghoul Priest that was set aside. So again here he's got strength of 4, so he's going to be very hard to fight. He has 5 per investigator, so in this case 10 health. It would take 4 to evade him. His prey is the one with the highest might, but since both of ours have 2, I do believe we get to decide who he's going to engage with, because he is going to spawn in the hallway. That's where our investigators are. We would go to the one with the highest. It's a tie, so I do believe we get to decide. I'm just going to move these cards over here. I know it's a little bit off the screen, but it's going to go to Agnes. We're starting to run out of room here. Okay, so that was Act 2. Now we go on to Act 3. What have you done? You guys see? A woman with a torch stands in your parlor, a glimmer of hatred in her eyes. What have you done to my barrier? She screams, furious. Before you can answer, a ghastly wail sounds behind you, and a creature wearing robes and a deer skull mask tears through the wall, advancing towards you. Objective: if the ghost priest is defeated, advance. So here, this means that there's no clues to get. Instead, we were told to do something else, and we were told to defeat the ghoul priest. And with his 10 health, that is not going to be easy. So now we are back at the top of the round, and so the first thing we have to do is add a doom to the agenda. So now that's 2 of 7. So that does, we have lots of time there. Next we have to draw from the encounter deck, and Rex will go first, and he draws the Flesh Eater. So strength of 4, health of 4, evade of 1, but it does tell us spawn in the attic. He is not a hunter. Nope, not there. So actually, he'll just sit in the attic. We're not going back to the attic. It actually won't affect us, so that's good. So then for Agnes, she draws Dissident Voices, Revelation. Can you guys see? Well, put Dissident Voices into play in your threat area. You cannot play assets or events, and then forced at the end of the round, discard Dissident Voices. So she just can't play any assets or events this round. And now we go back to the investigator phase. And we got some real thinking to do. So obviously the Ghoul Priest is pretty strong. He's going to take 4 to defeat. The problem is, by base, both of our investigators only have a strength of 2. So that is not good at all. However, on Lita Chandler here, it does say when you control Lita Chandler, she gains, each investigator at your location gains 1 strength. So that, I think, is very important for our guys to go get her. When an investigator at your location successfully attacks an enemy, that investigator deals +1 damage. So all the more reason to go get her to help us. But how do we get her? So if you look at the parlor, which we haven't looked at yet, so it's got a Shroud of 2. It's got no clues. So it does give us another option here. We can go here and as an action, resign. This is too much for me. You run out of the front door, fleeing in panic. So that is one way to end the scenario. But it says, well, Lita Chandler is not controlled by a player. She gains, so as an action, we can parlay with her. And we're going to test the intelligence 4. If you succeed, take control of Lita Chandler. So she's sitting in the parlor here. And I am actually going to have Rex go, since the Ghoul Priest is on Agnes right now. I'm going to have Rex go to the parlor, try to parlay with her, and get back. Because then immediately that's going to help Agnes with fighting the Ghoul Priest. Yeah, so it won't help necessarily if she uses her shriveling spell like I was originally thinking, because that will use the willpower skill. But the baseball bat, it would help. And regardless, then it'll be +1 damage. So by default, any attack on an enemy that succeeded adds 1 damage, but now it'll be 2 damage. So I still think I want him to go get Lita Chandler and then come back. So that's going to be pretty much his whole turn here. So Rex is going for his first action, go to the parlor. He is going to try to parlay with her. So he has 4, +1 is 5, +1 is 6. Because yeah, that should be good enough. 6 to 4. Because again, only the auto fail will make this not work. And he draws +1. There we go. So it's actually 7 to 4. He successfully parlayed with Lita Chandler, convinced her, yes, I destroyed your barrier, but please come help us. We have a Ghoul Priest to fight. However, he can only have 1 investigator in his area at a time. He already had Milan Christopher, so then he can decide to discard him and get Lita Chandler instead. So that was the second action. And then the third action, he's going to travel back to the hallway. So at least he's there for Agnes. So that's the end of Rex's turn. I do not believe there's anything else he can do. So Agnes now has to fight this Ghoul Priest. So she does have the Shriveling. So when she fights, she can use her mental instead of strength, and it will deal +1 damage. However, if she draws, I should lift this up for you guys. If she does draw one of those symbols, then she'll have to take a horror. Okay, which is not necessarily bad. She still has 7 horror left. Now, another thought is that maybe she should try to evade him first, so that way he can't attack back later on, because he will do 2 damage and 2 horror for every attack that he does. However, he has evade of 4 and she only has evade of 3, so that does not bode well. I could then use lucky on that when that fails, not if. And I could then throw in this astral travel, because as I'm sure you guys can tell, this scenario is just about complete. So it wouldn't hurt to use that, maybe for 1 turn, just to try to prevent extra damage. Okay, so I've thought about this here for a second. The problem with that is she has this, oh, it's off screen, sorry, this dissonant voices, and she cannot play an asset or event. So I was hoping to use this lucky, but she can't because it is an event. So for this round, she can't actually do that. So I think this time she's just going to have to suck it up. She can suck it up once, because then she'll have 5 damage to 6. That's going to be cutting it very close for her. But there's not really a whole lot more we can do about that. So I think she's going to try to use her Shriveling spell. So it's going to take up one of the charges to attack the Ghoul Priest that's in front of her. So she does have, so then she gets to use her mental ability, which is 5, instead of that, and she'll deal +1 damage. So right now we've got 5 to 4. I would like to try to improve on that. And I think I will use this Meat Cleaver for its ability here to make it 6 to 4. So we'll discard that. 6 to 4 on easy. Oops, sorry about the bump. Hopefully she succeeds. So that makes it 5 to 4, which means she does succeed. So she gets her 1 base damage. Shriveling adds +1 damage, if you can see that there. So that's now 2. And Lita Chandler over here will add another 1. So that's going to be 3 damage on him in 1 blow, which is really good for this game. 3. So that does mean that was her first action, I believe. I still think I want to try to save this card to try that plan of evading him maybe the next round, because I don't want to see her killed off already. So instead, I will then use the Arcane Studies to add +1 willpower. So it will cost me 1 resource. And just so you understand, I could use that over and over and over again because there's nothing that's restricting me. So I could use up all of her resources to add to 1 test. But at this point, that now puts us at 6 to 4. Again, I'm happy with 6 to 4, which is a -2 would be the worst. And she draws -1. So again, that's a success. Again, she gets 1 damage for the base. Oh, I meant to use my Shriveling. Obviously, that's what I was doing because I had said 5 + 1. So that's 2 for the Shriveling and 3 for Lita Chandler. So again, that's 3 damage. She is gonna do a lot of damage to this guy, hopefully in this 1 turn. And now for her third action, guess what she's gonna do? The exact same thing. She's gonna use 1 resource using her Arcane Studies to make her skill 6 using her Shriveling. 6 to 4. Come on, let's see if we can get 9 hits on 1 turn. And we do. The Ghoul Priest is quite scared now. So he's got 9 of 10 damage. However, that is the end of the Investigator's phase. So now we go to the enemy phase, and we actually do have an enemy in play for the first time when we reach this phase, and that is the Ghoul Priest. So now you get to see it for the first time. And basically what happens is, let me use the card here so you can see it, read along with me. So first, any enemies with the Hunter keyword would move toward the nearest Investigator. So then they would also have to follow the same paths as the rules as the Investigators. If you recall, the rats here, they were a hunter, but they are dead. The Flesh Eater here does not have the hunter characteristic, so he's not going to move. The Ghoul Priest does have hunter, and the Ghoul Priest does have hunter, but of course he's already there, and I'm just realizing the retaliate. So give me 1 moment with the retaliate, because I missed that. Okay, I'm back, and I'm just looking at the rule book here. So retaliate. So it says, if an investigator fails a skill test while attacking an enemy that has the retaliate keyword, the enemy, if it is ready, performs an attack, damage and horror against the investigator. But in this case, Agnes succeeded on her 3 turns, so no adjustment, thankfully. He has the hunter keyword there, but he's already at a location with an investigator, so he's not going to move. So next, each engaged enemy attacks if able. And the Ghoul Priest is engaged with Agnes Baker. So what that means is he's going to do 2 damage and 2 horror to Agnes right now. So that now brings up her damage to 5 out of 6. So she takes 1 more, she's dead for the round. I think they say unconscious or something because she would continue into the next one with a pretty steep penalty. But she also took 2 mental damage, so that brings her to 3 of 8. She's fine there. So that's the enemy phase. Now we go again back to the upkeep phase. So we'll reset these. We would reset any other cards. Dissident Voices can now be thrown out, so hopefully she can do that evade if necessary, although we're looking pretty good. And then each investigator gets a resource and a card. Oh, now here's our first weakness. Rex just got his Rex's Curse, Revelation. Put Rex's Curse into play in your threat area. Forced, when you would succeed at a skill test, return the revealed Chaos token to the bag and reveal a new Chaos token. If this effect causes you to fail the test, shuffle Rex's Curse into your deck. Limit once per test. Not everything in a player's deck is good. There are a few weaknesses in here. They all have a base weakness, and this was Rex's base, his default weakness. And then you also get a basic weakness that's randomly drawn from the box that also gets in there for the entire scenario, or sorry, for the entire campaign. So unfortunately, he didn't get anything good there. That was really bad. Agnes's turn, and she gets Heirloom of Hyperbora. So this is her special. So kind of handy that you just saw that Rex drew his default weakness. Well, Agnes drew her default positive card. So every character pretty much has one weakness and one special weakness and one basically asset that's unique to them. And that's why it says Agnes Baker deck only. So if I have this down, it's that symbol there. And then after you play a spell card, I can draw a card. So that's going to go into her deck, or sorry, her hand. I don't think I'm going to be playing that at all, considering how close we are. It would help with her last shriveling. But if that succeeds, then we win the scenario, and then what's the point? Okay, so now we go back to the top of the round. We add 1 there, 1 doom to the agenda, and now we have to draw from the encounter deck, and let's hope we don't have something that's going to really mess us up, because otherwise we're looking really good here. So Rex draws Cryptic Chill, Revelation, Test, Willpower, 4. If you fail, choose and discard 1 asset you control. If you cannot, take 2 damage instead. So his will is 3, so that's not good. Okay, so basically Rex has a willpower of 3 to a test of 4, so that's not good. Only the +1 is going to make us win there. And on top of that, he has his curse, which means he's going to have to draw 2 tokens to succeed. The other thing is then he'd have to discard an asset he controls. I'm not really wanting to lose, especially Lita Chandler and the knife. So that would make it 2 out of 3. I don't like that. So we're going to have to do something here. However, because they're in the same location, Agnes could then use 1 card from her hand to help Rex. So I think she's going to use her heirloom right here, right now, because that will add 1, and the question mark is a wild, so that's actually going to add 2. So that will put him at 5 to 4. And there really isn't anything else we can do. And I do not like those odds, but that's about the best we're going to do. So we're hoping for a -1 or better. And we pulled out the skull. So let's see what the skull does again. And it is -X. X is the number of ghouls. Well, we do have 1 ghoul, and that would be the ghoul priest himself. As you can see, he is a ghoul. You can see right there, he is a ghoul. So that does make that one a -1, but again, 5 minus 1 is 4 to a test of 4. So he passes except for his weakness. So when you would succeed at a skill test, return the revealed chaos token to the bag and reveal a new chaos token. If this effect causes you to fail the test, then Rex's curse gets shuffled back into his deck. Yes, and then it says limit once per test, so you only have to try to draw 2. So it's not going to keep repeating over and over because you failed. So for his second one, let's hope for -1 or better. 0. So he actually passed this Cryptic Chill. Thank you, Agnes, for your help. Otherwise, he would have been toast. So now we get Agnes's turn at an encounter card. And she draws Cryptic Chill. Okay, well, this makes it easy. You now know what this card does. She has 5 skill to 4. So she is going to use a resource here to make it 6 to 4. And we'll be satisfied with that. And she pulls +1. So she more than passed the Cryptic Chill herself. So now we go back to the investigator phase. And really, we just need to get the Ghoul Priest 1 more point of damage. So I think all we got to do is have Agnes go use her Shriveling spell 1 more time. So that's going to let her use her willpower of 5. Now, if we defeat him, then we will advance the act, and this is the 3rd of 3 acts. So I say throw everything at it, even if it doesn't necessarily make sense unless you draw that negative. So no, let's not go crazy. We'll make it 5, because if she does draw that bad one, I need to have a backup plan, because nothing's going to help against that bad token. So we have 5. I think I'm going to make it 6. Because then it's 6 to 4. Like I said, that seems to be the magic number. So long as this is not the auto fail, we succeed the encounter, or we succeed the scenario. +1, we succeed the scenario. So we add 1 more to the Ghoul Priest. He'd actually add 3, just so we're clear. 1 for the base, 1 for the Shriveling, and 1 because of Letta Chandler throwing in something there. Now he's got 12 damage to 10. We have killed the Ghoul Priest. He is gone. He actually goes into what they say the display, victory display, because he's also worth 2 points. So I'm just going to put him, he's going to be a little bit off camera for you, but I'll just put him up there because that's kind of the end of the scenario anyway. So now we go back to act objective. If the Ghoul Priest is defeated, advance. Defending the home. When the robe creature falls, the fiendish swarm burrows back into the ground, and the chaos of the house quiets. But the stranger in your parlor doesn't seem relieved. You broke my seal that was set to trap the ghouls within. She raises her torch. Now we must take more direct measures and burn this hell pit to the ground. The lead investigator, which is Rex, must decide. Choose one. It was never much of a home. Burn it down. And then you go to resolution 1. Or, this hell pit is my home. No way are you burning it. And you would go to resolution 2. So without looking at the resolution, I now must decide. Now, since I have played this scenario a few times, I guess I will choose. I would definitely have thrown this back to you, the viewers, once I have some more subscribers. This would be like the prime example of a time when I would want to throw it back to you to get your input. I would have done that multiple times already through this, and I would have broken this video out into multiple, into a bit of a series. But that's not the case. So now I have to consider, do I want to burn it or save my house? Without looking at the resolution, it has been a long time since I played, so let me just think here. Obviously, nobody wants to burn their house down. If we want to succeed at this, Clearly she knows what she's talking about. She had a plan. We ruined it. There's not really much left of this house. The floor is now dirt. The doors were on the ceiling. Let's burn this place down. All right, welcome back. So as I said, Rex was going to have his house burnt down. So that means we go to resolution 1. I am trying to cover up the rest of the do not read section. So there's basically a story thing. If you have no resolution, so if we would have used the parlor to escape, as you can see here, we could have resigned, and it doesn't actually tell us any resolution to go to. So then we go to the one that has none, and there's actually 3 different resolutions. We saw how we got to 1 and 2. There's a different way to 3. I'm not even sure what that is. So I'm gonna try to cover up the other resolutions so that I don't spoil it for you if you've never actually played this game. We're gonna go to resolution 1, and that says, you nod and allow the red-headed woman to set the walls and floor of your house ablaze. The fire spreads quickly, and you run out of the front door to avoid being caught in the inferno. From the sidewalk, you watch as everything you own is consumed by the flames. Come with me, the woman says. You must be told of the threat that lurks below. Alone, we are surely doomed, but together, we can stop it. In your campaign log, record that your house has burned to the ground. So you also get, with every campaign, a campaign log. Zoom out here for you. So this, I just photocopy it so I can always keep using it rather than using the actual book. So then here you're supposed to make a note, which I will do later on, that the house burnt down. Okay. So the next one is the lead investigator earns the Lita Chandler card and may include it in his or her deck. This card does not count toward the investigator's deck size. So that means in the next scenario, Rex will have Lita Chandler in his deck. Okay, so on to page 2. So there it says, now the lead investigator suffers 1 mental trauma from watching his or her home become a smoldering ruin. What that means is back on the campaign log, you'll see here that we have for each character, I have to put the player name, the investigator, any experience that's unspent, so it could be carried forward, and you get trauma, physical, and mental. What this means is, and that's what he'll get 1 mental trauma, which means Rex, next time that he starts, he has 6 and 9, 6 health and 9 mental, but he's already going to start the next campaign or the next scenario with 1 mental trauma. And that's going to happen every game since he has a trauma. So basically, if he would have had 6 damage, he would also have gotten 1 physical trauma, or if he would have had 9 during the scenario mental, he would have another mental trauma. So that means that you're going to keep getting more and more damage and horror just to start the next scenario. If it were to ever happen that he would have, let's say, 6 damage trauma, which means he would start with 6 damage, then he is officially dead. And you could not use Rex for the rest of the campaign. Same thing if you had 9 mental trauma, you would start with 9, well obviously he'd be instantly insane and he's gone for the rest of the campaign. The players can choose a new character from the box, but they're going to completely reset. And finally, each investigator earns experience equal to the victory X values of each card in the victory display. Remember to add eligible locations to the victory display. Each investigator earns 2 bonus experience as he or she gains insight into the hidden world of the mythos. So what that means is we had 2 victory points because we beat the ghoul priest. Oops. We gain another one because we got rid of all the clue tokens from the attic, so we gain another one from here. And the same thing with the cellar. There was no clues left there, so that gives us 4, plus it says 2 bonus ones, so that means each character will have 6 experience that I can use to upgrade some cards in the player's deck. So let me give you an example of what that would mean. So I will just use the magnifying glass as an example here for Rex. So as you can see on these cards, there's nothing here underneath this one. It's all pretty dark underneath. What I could do with my 6 points is I could upgrade to this magnifying glass. And you see that there's 1 pip there. That means it's going to cost me 1 experience to put this in my deck. Now my deck limit is 30, so that also means that I have to pull out any card from my deck, so that way this one could fit in. This is basically an upgraded version of the magnifying glass we already have, as it has the free action: if there's no clues at your location, return magnifying glass to your hand. So then I could actually put this back into my hand, whereas this base one doesn't have that. Now I don't think I'm going to want 3 magnifying glass in my deck, but that could be useful, say when you're trying to investigate, you get a monster, there's no clues left, I can just very quickly put it back to my hand, and I'd have an open spot to put some weapons out. So that's kind of the idea. So I will decide how to spend the 6 points for the 2 characters. Then we'll come back to the second act of this campaign, called the Midnight Masks. So that's it for this scenario of The Gathering with Arkham Horror, the living card game. And I hope to see you next time at Come Play with Meeples.